My name is Ruth Ann Callahan, 76 years old, retired postmistress of Willow Creek, Tennessee. For 38 years, I rode my bicycle 12 miles every day, rain or shine, delivering mail and bringing people their Social Security checks. People still call me Miss Ruth. This is the story of the three-story Victorian house on Maple Street that my grandfather built in 1918, that I saved from the day my husband Tom died in '86 until the day my own son and daughter-in-law tried to lock me out of it. That house has my name on the deed, my sweat in the walls, and my tears in the hardwood floors. And it still carries my name today. I raised my only son Michael in that house, put him through engineering school, working double shifts at the post office and sewing wedding dresses on the side. When he married Jennifer, pretty city girl from Nashville with a marketing degree and a sharp tongue, I was nothing but proud. The first few years, she called me Mama Ruth and brought me flowers from the farmer's market. Then the comments started. Mama Ruth, you're rattling around in this big old house all by yourself. Mama Ruth, don't you think it's time to downsize? Mama Ruth, we're worried about you living alone at your age. I just smiled and kept polishing the banister I'd sanded by hand 30 years ago. Then came the 4th of July weekend, everything changed. I drove in from my little apartment in town, planning to spend a quiet few days in my own house. The house I still pay taxes on, still mow the lawn for, still paint the porch every spring. But when I turned onto Maple Street, there were 8 strange cars in my driveway, music blasting, kids running through my flower beds, and smoke pouring out of my barbecue pit. Jennifer was standing on my front porch wearing my favorite blue apron, the one I embroidered with Morning Glories in 1995, holding a margarita and laughing like she owned the place. I walked up the steps and said, Jennifer, honey, I didn't know y'all were coming. She looked me dead in the eye and said, Oh, we're not just visiting, Mama Ruth. Michael said it's time this house got used properly. You don't need all this space anymore. My keys were shaking in my hand. I asked, Where's my son? Working, of course. Grown men have responsibilities. Look, there's no room for you this weekend. Everything's full. Behind her appeared her mother, her 2 sisters, their husbands, 7 kids I'd never seen, and some cousin wearing a Hawaiian shirt drinking my good bourbon on my swing. Jennifer's mother looked me up and down and smirked. So this is the famous mother-in-law. I expected someone scarier. They all laughed. I stood there in my simple cotton dress, 76 years old, being laughed off my own porch. I said, This is my house. I have the deed. Jennifer rolled her eyes. Michael's your son. What's yours is his. That's how families work. I turned around, walked to my car, and drove away. They thought they'd won. They had no idea they'd just declared war on a woman who once carried mail through blizzards on a bicycle with no gears. That night, I didn't check into a hotel. I drove straight to Knoxville and knocked on the door of retired Judge Harlan Brooks, the same judge who used to wait for his pension check on the 1st of every month. I told him everything. He listened, nodded once, and said, Ruth Ann, you come back tomorrow morning. Bring every piece of paper you've got. The next 6 months were quiet. Too quiet. I gathered every bank statement since 1986, every tax receipt, every canceled check. I found the original deed from 1918 with the clause my grandfather wrote in his own hand. This property shall never be taken from a widow against her will. If any heir attempts to remove the matriarch of this family from her home, the entire estate immediately passes to the Willow Creek Children's Home. Michael and Jennifer never knew that clause existed. I never told them. Then I discovered the forged power of attorney they'd filed claiming I had early onset dementia. I got a court-ordered mental evaluation. Ruth Ann Callahan is in full possession of her faculties. I got the doctor who signed their fake certificate to admit, on tape, that Jennifer paid him $8,000 cash. The day the sheriff served the eviction notice on them, I rode with him myself. Jennifer opened the door in my robe holding my coffee mug. When she saw the sheriff and me standing behind him, the mug slipped from her hand and shattered on my hardwood floor. I stepped over the broken pieces and said, You have 72 hours to remove yourselves and every stick of furniture you brought in here. After that, anything left belongs to me. She screamed. She cried. She called me every name in the book. Michael stood on the porch with his head down, same way he did when he was 8 and broke my good vase. They left on the 3rd day. Left my great-grandmother's dining table on the curb like trash. Left my porch swing broken. cut down my 70-year-old magnolia tree because it dropped too many leaves. I didn't cry. I just started cleaning. I sued them for damages, theft, and emotional distress. I won. The judge awarded me $187,000. Jennifer got 18 months probation for forgery. Michael got 6 months for fraud. When Michael came to see me after he got out, he stood on my porch, crying. Mom, I'm so sorry. She talked me into it. I was stupid. I looked at him for a long time. Then I handed him an envelope. Inside was a single photograph. Him at 6 years old, swinging under that magnolia tree that no longer exists. I said, "The little boy in that picture died the day you let your wife lock me out of my own home. Don't come back." I changed the locks. I planted a new magnolia sapling. I hung a new porch swing. And I had a bronze plaque made for the front gate. Ruth Ann Callahan, sole owner. All others were guests, and guests sometimes overstay their welcome. Now every morning I sit on my porch with my coffee, watching the sun come up over the same roof my grandfather nailed shingles on with his own hands. The house is quiet again, the way it's supposed to be. And when people ask how a 76-year-old woman took on her own son and won, I just smile and say, "Honey, I delivered mail through hurricanes. A little family betrayal was nothing." This house still carries my name, and it always will.